I got to thinking. You know, I've told the story before about the Red Sea when it parted, but I'll give you a quick recap of it. Pharaoh had let the children of Israel go. And they was running, and all of a sudden, Pharaoh come to his senses and said, that's all my slave labor. What am I going to do now? And his heart was hardened again. And he sent everybody after the children of Israel. They were running across the desert. Go, go, go. It was like Tom and Jerry. They chasing them. And I got a feeling a lot of the Israelites were like, well, we're coming up on the Red Sea. We're coming up on the Red Sea. And Moses just keep on. Push on, push on, push on. Because what they didn't know was Moses had told God to hit that water with that staff, and that water was going to part like this and be standing up like big walls on the side. And they were going to walk through on dry ground. It said walk through on dry ground. It didn't say it was muddy and slushy and nasty. It said they going to walk through on dry ground. Okay? Big wind come through, dried it up. Y'all know the rest of the story. The Egyptian army follows them in there, and they get to the end, and it drowned all of them. They gone. Okay? That was a miracle. Okay? A miracle. Because we worship a miracle-working God. And we also worship a common sense God. Not a, I mean, he's got a lot of common sense. And he still does miracles, though. My point of this right here is, today a lot of us get hung up in me. Arrogance, self-centeredness, and social media does a lot of that. How many likes did I get? Likes. Let me check. Oh, like that. Sometimes when you're praying and asking God for a miracle, He may not part the Red Sea. He may send Ricky Wayne over there with a tire tool to help you fix your car. Okay? You got to look for your miracle. All right? It reminds me of this story I've heard my whole life, and a lot of y'all have heard this, about the giant flood. About the flood, and all of a sudden there's a guy on his front porch, and it's flooding, and the water's up to his porch. And they pull up in a boat, and they say, come on, we'll take, come on. He says, go ahead, the Lord's going to save me. And they're like, oh, okay, all right. And they go off, and the water keeps rising. And eventually, he's on top of his house. And another boat comes by and says, come on, man, we'll save you, come on. We'll save you. He says, the Lord's going to save me. The water keeps rising, and about 3 hours later, the man is on top of his chimney. Nowhere else to go. And they come in a helicopter and throw a ladder down to him, and they say, take the rope. And the guy says, the Lord's going to save me. The Lord's going to save me. Me. It's about me. So a few minutes later, the guy drowns. And he's in heaven. And he goes in the gate. And Jesus is standing there. And he looks at Jesus and says, I got to tell you, I'm a little disappointed. I just am. I said, well, son, why would you be disappointed? He said, because I drowned. And I told them that the Lord was going to save me. And Jesus looked at him and said, well, we sent 2 boats in a helicopter. What else did you want? He wanted the Red Sea to part. He wanted to walk off that roof on dry ground when it don't always happen like that. Sometimes it's just different. Just take the miracle. God don't have to part the Red Sea all the time. Sometimes, if you ain't got no money in your bank account, and you tithe and you try to live the right kind of life like that, and you ain't got no money, all of a sudden, something will show up in your checking account that you overpaid, something like that. It may only be $15, but it may be enough to get you gas till the next day when you get paid. He didn't part the Red Sea. He gave you $15. Some of y'all need to remember that. I need to remember that. We all need to remember that. Take the boat or the helicopter. Don't wait for the Red Sea to part. If you can imagine that, we are the same.